Wrong picture. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing marvellously well. Oh, I'm still wearing a wristband from last night. Wow. It is 10:32. It takes like 2 minutes for me. I walk over here at 10:30, and I have to keep doing this preview thing. And it just doesn't always take. One day. How are you all? Dum dum dum, says PJ. Hello, Nate. Hello, Mark, Adam, Ken, John, Dickie Allen, Nate Wyckoff, Rick, George Cassidy, Stephanie, Ray, Will, Seth, Tom, Demetrius, Leslie, Adam, Lemmica, hey Lemmica, Shining, Our Pop, Eric, Ron, Kevin, Blackened Kevin, Emily, hello. What's up, Warren? Not your usual self. Am I not my usual self? Am I different? Who am I? Eric, who am I today? I'm Warren number 2. I'm a different self. I think I'm my usual self. Get this microphone in the right place. So, sorry if it's all going... We got a brand new song today. So, so I suppose I could be a little tired. We got home very late. Got home about 1 o'clock in the morning, 12:45, 1 o'clock, something like that. And we went to, and I never do these things, ever, never, ever do these things. But this time I did. I went to, and I think it's because of NAMM. When we, after NAMM, I went to like a lunch. It was like an engineer's lunch on the Wednesday following. And it was wonderful. And there was like so many amazing people there. Ed Cherney was there, Jack Douglas was there, Blake Douglas, Al Schmidt, and it was this wonderful lunch. And I realized that a big part of this is, yes, I work insane amounts of hours, like 15 hours a day, every day. I've got a writing session coming in, doing pre-production on an album that I'm working on it at 12, so in an hour and a half. We've been recalling Rick Springfield mixes. We're doing vocal comps, and we're finishing up Kylie Hughes' record. We're doing all that, and we're also doing Produce Like a Pro and the Pro Mix Academy and everything else. And so I don't ever really do much like go out. But last night we went to an event at the Village, which is very unusual for me to get out. Went there and saw lots of wonderful people. Got to speak to Neil Averon for a while, who I'm sure you all know is an amazing mixer. That was a lot of fun. Got to see loads of great people. I saw my old friend Kevin Griffin, who I hadn't seen in like 4 or 5 years. You know, the singer of Better Than Ezra, who's also a great songwriter. And we produced albums together and all kinds of fun stuff. We did James Blunt together, for instance, and Howie Day and tons of other things. And he's written on lots and lots of projects that I work on. So that was fun. I saw Jamie Hartman, who is totally on fire at the moment. I believe he's an old friend of mine who, I've produced and we've co-written together. So it's just one of those things where I got to go and see lots of other people. And, my social life is this normally. I get to hang out and talk to you. So for me actually to go out and do that stuff was really a lot of fun. And of course I took my wife and she had a blast and it's really good. So we've got the difference between I'm going to answer this question, Cali and the Focal Alpha 65s. I haven't compared them side by side. How much are the Focal Alpha 65s? You're talking 3 speakers that I really, really like a lot. And those are the Calis and of course the Focals and the Genelecs. I use all of them. So yes, I have got to have a social life occasionally. And as Devon says, you do that for your wife as well. Yes, I'm sure she loves getting out. And she did. She had a blast. And we got to see lots of wonderful people. And it's nice to have a life outside of work and looking after your kids. Sometimes you've got to get out and do things. I haven't updated my computer yet, but it is on the books. In fact, actually, every time I say that, I go, hey, what was the name of that guy? And we go, Dustin, and we have to do it. So we're going to do that. So today, we're going to give away 3 copies of David from Mixbus's new course. Now, David from Mixbus, that's actually a strange way of thinking of him. David is, what I love about him is he mixed this album I'm a big fan of, and it was the latest album by a guy called MC Solar. And those of you that are old enough to remember the 90s, who remembers the 90s? All of us? Well, there was a guy called Guru. He's still around, obviously, but Guru did these series of albums called Jazzmatazz, and Jazzmatazz was unfreaking believable. It had all of the best, a lot of European and American jazz players playing on it, and it had some amazing artists featured in it. I remember Urban Species did some stuff, but very famously was MC Solar, the French rapper, who is incredible. So I heard this album by MC Solar, which came out, was it last year or the end of the year before? Anyway, about a year ago. And it was a #1 album in France and top 10 in almost every European country. It won Album of the Year in France and sold, double platinum over there. And David Gnozzi is probably the right way to pronounce it. My Italian's terrible. I'm sorry. Mi chiamo Warren. Anyway, so it was a great sounding record, and we sort of tracked him down, and he's moved to LA, and now he's working from here. So that's rather wonderful. And he did a course, like a recording and mixing hip hop. And it's like super snappy. It's like information after information after information. It's one of our best courses on ProMix Academy. And it's officially for sale tomorrow. So we're going to give away 3 copies. Now, of course, if you do remember Guru, great. You remember they were just 10 years ago? I wish they were only 10 years ago, the 90s. Unfortunately, they're nearly 20 years ago. Guru's gone? Oh, I didn't know that. That's terrible. Yeah. Oh, you supported Guru's Jazzmatazz back in Bristol. That would have been amazing. There was a golden period of about 93, 94, 95. We had Guru, we had Massive Attack, Portishead. It was freaking awesome time for music. We had, what else do we have? We had Blur, Modern Life is Rubbish. What a masterpiece of guitar playing. You listen to Graham's guitar playing on that, all the pedals and stuff and the sounds. It's pre the bends. Then the bends came out, which took it to another level again. It was just like a great time for everything. I mean, you listen to Chemical World on Modern Life is Rubbish. Just such great stuff. I remember sitting in a friend of mine's living room and hearing Modern Life is Rubbish for the first time in like 93, 94 when it came out. And we're all just like this, like going, wow, they're writing 60s style pop songs with a punk aesthetic. I mean, Blur, that album, look, we all know Park Life. It was a huge album. It sold millions and millions of copies. But the album before, Modern Life is Rubbish, I think is one of the best albums of the 90s. Go back and check it out. Anyway, so what we have today is a new song, and it's an Academy song. So it's a song I'd already mixed in the Academy, but I like to show people here that aren't Academy members. So if you're not an Academy member, this gives you an idea of what we do every month. Oh, and by the way, just to finish off what I was saying, so of course, if you are an Academy member, you get an extra discount on all of these courses. So if you want to go and check out, it went up yesterday's video. There's it's like a 20-minute tuition video, isn't it? With David. There's a 20-minute tuition video in there, and you can see him like breaking down some ideas. It's a completely Academy-only tradition video, and it's not included in the other video. It's only for you guys. So please go and check that out. And I think the discount code, I hope the discount code is underneath with the link and everything. Fingers crossed. Eric's going to go and check. So Tom's very nice of you. Says if you're not an Academy member, I highly recommend it. Poker or union breaks. Maybe I'm missing a bit of the story here. Stephanie says that they're having sound issues. Are you hearing any issues, Eric? Eric? No, he says no. He watches it not from my feed. He watches it online as well. So it gives us an idea of what you guys are experiencing. Okay, guys and girls. Alrighty then. It was a wonderful time last night anyway. Getting back to that, had a great time. Got to see some incredible people. We're going to do some amazing interviews. We have an incredible mentor coming up to help us with an amazing set of multi-tracks. So, yeah. Enough said. So, what I have here is a song called the Owl Song by a band called Me and the City. This is about 4 or 5 years ago that I recorded this, produced it. I think I played a bit on it, and it was a great record. And what I like about this record is it's very, how can I put it? Very Mumford and Sons, at a time when Mumford and Sons were huge. Oh, and please, as Matty says, please like and subscribe. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. We do this all the time. And if you're not an Academy member, please go ahead and join. It would be absolutely amazing. Okay, so let's check it out. All right. So what you're going to see me do, everything is set to 0 at the moment. So this, you see this here? That's how everybody gets the multi-tracks. That's how they arrive. They don't arrive with tons of plugins on. So you're going to see me in real time now mix this. The only thing that's got a plugin on is my voice that you can hear me talking. So what I will typically do is play it back and just balance it as we go. So it's going to start off sounding like absolute poop, but you'll find about halfway through, without any compression or EQ, it will get better. So.
Though my mind has slipped away from me, promise you'll be by my side and we'll go off in the dark, I know. The only fools in lovers go too high. Promise you won't let me go alone. When I'm lost inside my thoughts and all the things that I am not for you, promise that you always know the truth, that there's so much more to these simple words and the promises that you always heard. I don't care, just don't let me go.
Okay, so you saw what I did. I basically just played the song down from the top, did a really quick balance, panned around stuff the way I wanted to hear it. You know, took the hi-hat, panned it. You know, I'm not a drummer. You know I play drums, but that doesn't make me a drummer. Playing drums doesn't make you a drummer. No, this isn't the rough mix. This is all the multi-tracks, no compression, no EQ. I just did that. We played it down one time. Look at the balance here. I made a couple of groups. You know, there's one kick and one snare sample. Otherwise, it's live drums. That's all there is. Just one kick and one snare sample. Didn't go crazy on the samples on this one. You can blend it. It's the drums in there. And yeah, it's a rough mix because I just did it really, really super quick. That was my rough mix. So I would probably send that to the band now, and that would be the rough mix. I like to work quickly, as you know, and I like to focus on it. I only soloed a couple of things, just to see what was going on. It's a very simplistic song. I created a group for the background vocals. I created the vocal thickening, brought that down because it was super loud. And then brought up the piano, panned the electric a little bit away from the center.
Okay, it's connecting.
God bless Los Angeles internet. God bless Los Angeles internet. Okay, Eric, I think we're ready to rock. Yep, that was on our end. That's why it's good to have Eric monitor it, so he knows when it's, because he's monitoring it, he knows when it's on our end or on your end. Okay, so sorry about that. We'll do the first giveaway in a minute. That way we'll give a little present. And so there's going to be 3 giveaways. Each one is one of David's courses, and at the end we're going to give away David Gnozzi's course, but also a free year's membership to the Academy. Great. So I'm another quick listen. Cool. So let's just create a group of all of these drums. So we're just going to call it drums dot. I always go for caps when I do this. All. When it's everything, I do a drums all. Let's have a listen. I really like that. I mean, if you wanted to go super, super indie, what we could do, for instance, is just bus them. We could maybe try, let's do this. Because you know what? I always say this, there's no one way to do anything. And I love every time we do a live mix like this to approach it in a different fashion. So why don't we do this? We're going to create this. I'm going to go super indie mix. So I'm bussing the whole drum kit together, and I'm going to grab Andrew's, hey Eric, I'm going to grab Andrew's plugin, the Omni channel, which he explained to us when he was here a week ago or 2 weeks ago, that the initial load up time is long when you open it, but every instance after that is immediate. Supernatural drum sound. And now I'm going to hit with the saturation. Wow, listen to the ring it brought out when I brought the threshold down on the compressor. Now I'm going to add some thump. Four dB. So that would be like if I was going super indie. So do I want to do super indie? I don't know. I mean, that's a cool indie drums in a room drum sound. You know what I mean? I could. So to me, that's like, there's the quick indie mix, like no compression EQ. The only thing we've done is just is pull together all the drums. It's interesting to think this way because this is not where I'm going to end up. But it's sort of like a lesson that you don't necessarily have to go absolutely nuts, because if we wanted this to be an indie kind of mix, another fun thing we could do, it's all kinds of fun things. Let's create a stereo master fader. And then just for schnizzle, just because we can, you're going to think I'm nuts. I'm going to take an Abbey Road chamber here, which might take a second to load up because it's the first instance. Here it is. Take the Abbey Road chamber. Hello. And take the mix down. 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 1. Okay, that's amazing. Now, that's on the overall mix. Have a listen. Now, why did I do that? I did that because this is like the 10-second mix. I don't know, probably the 5-minute mix. The reason why I did that is just to illustrate, like, if you want to go super indie and create like a band in a room, it's just sometimes as simple as that, because we can go in there and we can control the low end and we can do all kinds of fun stuff, which is, of course, is great. But if you want a live reproduction, it's amazing how quick you can think. And I like not to repeat myself, and I like just to be able to show different ideas. So I'm going to take that off, but that Abbey Road chamber is pretty spectacular. All right, so that was kind of a quick proof of, like, there is how important balancing is. You can see that that was all about balancing quickly and panning. But you see what I mean? You see how, like, it's just a thought process. So I'm going to turn off the Sheps now. Just leave it off for a minute, just because it loads up a different instance each time. But you see sort of the thought process about how that mix was just created from very, very quickly moving through, panning stuff around, and getting a feel for how it could sound. Now, if you can't get it to sound good like that, then it's going to be a lot of production issues. That's really kind of the thing, isn't it? It's like, the production makes a huge deal. And you hear it from every mixer and engineer and producer I interview, especially ones that have been doing this a long time, is that their frustration, if you like, where how production hasn't made choices. People aren't making choices. Yes, we do like to listen with the Sonarworks on. And I'm using Blue Lolas. So I am going to get in here and do some detailed work, but For me, that proved a point that there's a little bit more to mixing. It's more about an overview and how we quickly did an overview with no EQ, no compression, just panning and levels. No, the Abbey Road chamber was on the master. It was on everything because everything's going through 1 and 2. Okie dokie. Let's have a quick listen to this. I'm going to listen to the sample. So it's pretty natural. That kick is very pillowy. It's played very aggressively. So you can hear the drummer is laying his he's laying into the kick and not letting it bounce back. Hence it kind of goes it doesn't go boom boom. A little bit of air to it, but he's definitely letting the beater rest a nanosecond too long on the kick. Now, don't get me wrong, that's a way of playing, and a lot of big drummers I've worked with would do that. They lay it in. They don't do this. Well, I like it when the drummer lets the beater slap back, because then you get this you get this big blooming kick drum sound, which we're not getting there. So let's do some really obvious things. We'll grab an EQ. We'll grab, we can go stock as much as possible just to sort of help everybody out so they know that you don't have to necessarily use some fancy plugins. So let's go stock. Where is Avid stock EQ? So I'm going to go down. Let's go down to sort of the lows. I'm actually going to, you see here, high pass at about 30-ish, because when I go down to, say, 60 and boost, you see what's happening where I'm boosting that 60. It's also bringing up this area here. So if I don't use the high pass, this is what I'm going to get. Have a look and a listen. Have a look first, just so you understand what I'm talking about. Whoa, look at that big shelf there. We don't want that. Okay, now of course we can narrow that somewhat, but I don't want that either. I want to control it a little bit more. So that's a little bit too much for me. You can widen the cue if you like, but that's too much as well. I like the first thing we did, which was that. Let's pull out some low mids. Yeah, Tom and Devon are talking about that. Yeah. Burying the beater. Hey, Chris. So I know I'm going to lean on the sample a little bit because of this performance, but let's make it as good as we can, this kick. Now this is a Dave Jordan frequency. He always loves 2/5. He's the one that taught me 2/5 is good on a kick drum to make it, give a little bit of slap without making it too metal. But if you do want the metal kick, you're going to go to about 7K and do this. There's not much there to do that. Hey, Jonathan. That's okay. It's not going to get that much better. I can add some low lows on it, which I might do, but here's a before. to be honest, we could do a couple of things. We could duplicate the kick and treat it like a bass guitar and like find the high mids and boost these and find the lows and then put the two pieces back together. I've done that many, many times, especially when I'm deliberately trying to avoid using any kind of samples. But I did put a sample on this mix, so let's have a listen to the sample on its own. Far more natural, also has ambience. It feels like there's some phase cancellation going on. Let's have a look. Yeah. So you see we got, did you hear the phase cancellation before I said it? You can see it now, but listen. There's some phase cancellation. So we have a couple of things. We could grab, why don't I grab something like an EQ? Grab the same EQ. I'm going to copy it down. And the first thing I'm going to do is go up here on the input and flip the phase. I'll turn off the EQs so you know you're just going to hear the phase. Have a listen in and out of phase. Huge difference. All that low end is coming back in as soon as you flip the phase on the sample. Flip the phase, reverse the polarity, whatever you want to say. I know that there's multiple acceptable ways of saying it. So yes, phase polarity has been reversed. Okay, so I'm going to actually keep that same low boost. Let's have a listen to the 60. I mean, it's already great. Just how aggressive do I want to be? Probably not as much. So I'm going to take that down a little bit. That's nice with the 2.5 on this. Probably a little bit too much boost, but it instantly gave it a little bit of slap. Now remember, we're not going for like an ultra kind of kick drum. We're trying to keep it natural. I'm not feeling transient designer yet. I'm not feeling like I need to shorten the sustain or lengthen it. We're going to try and move quickly and do simple things. Now, it might be, let's have a listen to the verse. It's a little inconsistent there. He's not playing it quite so evenly. So why don't we just group those two together and bust them to one. Now, I'm going to go stereo, which you might think is unusual, but I'm going to go stereo because there's some ambience on the kick sample, and I want to keep it. You know, sometimes when you're using a kick sample, it's in mono. So I'm coming in 3 and 4, but I'm still going to bus out 1 and 2 to our master fader. So let's call that kick sub. You can call it kick sub, kick bus, kick auxiliary, bass drum. You know, I've seen everything. Some people, when I was living in the UK, we'd put BD for bass drum. We didn't call it kick. It's ever since I've moved here, I started calling it kick. So all I'm going to do here is grab something. We could grab the Omni channel. Why don't we do that? Let's grab the Omni channel and use it for a little bit of thump, but at the same time, I'm going to do a bit of high passing just to control that, because have a listen. I mean, that's great, the 2 dB thump, but I'm also controlling it, but high passing at 32. Add a little bit of saturation. Why not? Now, the main reason I wanted to do this was also to grab a little bit of compression. So let's pull that in. The way Andrew designed this, he told us that, and the video's coming out soon, but he told us that he wanted to have knobs that were already sounding good. So a lot of these default, not a lot of these, all of these default settings are in a place that he would reach for. You notice when I reach for plugins, you'll see me pull out and boost similar EQ quite often, or apply similar kinds of compression. There's a sort of starting place which after like 10, 20, 30 years, you know where to start from. Your ears hear a problem and you go straight there. So what we like about this plugin in particular is that he's already got a good place. Like the ratio here is 3.5 to 1, which is a very good in-betweeny 2 to 4 kind of area. So let's put a little bit of compression on. And the reason why I wanted to do it is I want to control some of the heavier transients so when the lighter kick drums come in, they don't disappear. I like the air now that's coming from the live kick. You hear the ooh, ooh. I love that. Question is, do I want to gate it lightly for the snare? Maybe. Maybe. I'm not going to do that at the moment. I'm going to turn that off and know that it's available and that it works. I mean, it works. Hear the gate, just so we can demonstrate the plugin. It's great. But I'm digging the bleed. I don't mind the bleed. And if I wanted to adjust it, maybe I would. At the moment, we're really heavily favoring the live kick. You see it's up 6.6 dB, and the addictive sample is only at 1.8. All right, let's do our first giveaway. So our first giveaway is going to be for David Gnozzi's course, which is absolutely fantastic. So what do I want to know? Have you used any channel strips? You know, are you using any kind of channel strips whatsoever? So if you are, what channel strips are you using? I mean, do you use the Omni channel? Are you using an SSL channel, I suppose, because it has gates and expanders and all kinds of stuff? Are you using that? You know, what are you using? Now, I see there's a little clipping discussion going on here. So, and this is very interesting because Al Schmidt actually got involved in this when I posted it on Instagram about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I asked the question, does it bother you when a transient that lasts a nanosecond causes a red light? Now, bear in mind, the transients from this kick drum is probably lasting a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a second. So it's no audible distortion. But if you mix with your eyes, you'll say things like it's clipping, but you won't hear it. And I asked that question, and Al wrote, what did Al write? He's like, I agree with you when I said it doesn't bother me if it's a visual only and not an audible thing, and it's only on the front of a transient. So just to answer that question, I'm not going to readjust everything just because I see an occasional red light of a transient. To me, there's nothing worse than readjusting your whole gain staging on a mix because like every now and then a transient hits like that. Yeah, definitely try and control the transient, but to make a mix decision based on that is not a smart thing to do. Great. So I'm happy with that for the time being. I suppose my question to myself would be is, do I want to add some verb, maybe a little bit of room? I'm going to, just out of habit, and I want to give this a little bit of, ambience. So what's everybody using? UAD, SSL channels, MixBus. Yeah, there's only a visual representation. You really have to use. Oh, PV have a channel strip. SSL. Ozone. What everybody using? VMR. Sheps and the Brainworks. These are all good. Avid default stuff. SSL, API Vision. Lots of omni-channel users. That's great. CureFan says they have the omni-channel by default on every channel. SSL G and E. Yeah, loads of people using the SSL here. Great. So kick verb. And again, I'm going to keep it simple. So far, we've used Avid, stock EQ, and the omni-channel. Let's try and keep it within the realms of acceptability. So I will grab the D verb. So let's go to the D verb. And it comes stock with Pro Tools. I'm going to go to a medium feeling room at about 3/4 of a second. I'm going to send it from the kick sub channel. We'll pick 5 and 6 as the next available bus. And it went off screen here, so I'm going to send it. Now, there's a high frequency cut and a low frequency cut, so you can do it from here. Bring Me Sunshine. What a great name. Congratulations. I'm not going to mess with that. I'm just going to bring up a stock EQ. Again, we'll go to an Avid one. We're going to keep this in the realms of affordability. Here's the one band. And we're going to bring that to about, I don't know, 400-ish. The difference? Listen to the difference with it on and off. Oh, and as Sean said, please like the video. If you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe to the channel. That's be absolutely amazing. So congratulations on winning David's new course. We have 350 people watching, and we have 161 likes, and our obligatory already got a dislike from somebody who has the what do they have? What do they call it? They have the notification so they can hit dislike within the first 5 seconds. So thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. So I wiped off the low end going into the reverb. No, I don't want to duck the reverb on a kick drum, but I do want to remove the low end so it doesn't mess up the low end. I'm very tempted to do 4 dB on the thump. Let's have a listen. Cool. So I went a little crazy. I got a 4 dB worth of thump. I also added a little bit of 60 hertz around about here. So maybe I'll pull it back a little bit. It also cut some 350. It's amazing how it defaults to 350. One of my favorite frequencies. To kill, to remove. Thanks, Necro Dogs. I'm a little superstitious. I'm going to take that low boost off, but keep the low mid cut. So the low mid cut has remained minus 2.3. And I will make that choice based on my bass guitar. Okay, so now I'm going to get the snare and have a listen. Now, again, the drummer is playing and laying onto it and not getting enough brightness out of this. I'm going to leave the, I'm going to bring up some EQ here. The head was super, super old. So let's grab, again, let's keep it in the realms of reality, and we're going to grab the free EQ that comes with Pro Tools. So if you happen to be in Reaper or Studio One or whatever it is, I'm just letting you know that obviously you can use any of your stock EQs. There's not a lot of high end there to drag out, but I am. So I'm actually going to smooth out the cue. So you see I'm just giving it a gentle lift. Well, the snare and the sample I choose together actually sound good together. Please hit the like button. 350 people watching. That's absolutely amazing. Welcome to you all. Let's get 350 likes. So even though it's a little I don't care too much because I know that other elements are going to make that work. I am going to high pass a bit just so I can grab 100 and boost it. So I'm going to boost some, like, just to give me some body. So it's a little random. It's not an award-winning snare. So you see I went to about 5K and made this whole shelf up here really, really strong. Have a listen. So it's okay. It's like an okay-ish, not so bad snare sound. Let's throw in the sample. It's going to completely help it. I like that. Those two together. I'm not going to do any additional EQ to that snare. Now what I'm going to do is bus them together. Again, I'm making it stereo only because the sample that was chosen to be used on this was, of course, had ambience on it. So... okay. So now, yep, you guessed it, I'm going to open the Omni channel. So first thing I'm going to do is give it a little body down about 100. Immediately you hear that. Might be a little bit too much, but we'll put it down there. Let's give it a little high passing up towards it, you see over here. So I've high passed to 85. 90 even. So what Andrew told me, and you're going to see it in the video, is he said that each one of these components is based off a favorite thing of his. So he would use, oh, by the way, Waves aren't sponsoring this. They are not sponsoring this video whatsoever. Hence why you can see I'm using, you know, Avid stock stuff and everything. I just feel like when I do these videos, I want to showcase different ideas and different ways of mixing, because I get asked all the time, what is the best for this and what is the best for that? The snare bottom is out of it at the moment. Cool. So let's creep the snare bottom in really, really lightly. There is guys like Cameron Webb don't even mic a snare bottom. So let's bring this in lightly, in context. Oh, I just went for the Sheps because I wanted to try something different. I mean, I have an SSL console and I mix hybrid all the time, and I wanted to experiment. I wanted to try this. We're going to use the Mix Hub. We're going to do that. We're going to try all kinds of fun stuff. Now we'll make sure this snare sub together goes to 1 and 2. I'm also going to create a kick bus. So kick. So if we come to solo, we have all of these elements. So here's the snare elements. Create a group. Call it, yes, you guessed it, snare. All right. I'm happy where we're at. I do want to add, you guessed it, a little bit of reverberation. So let's call this, you guessed it, snare verb. Okay, I'm going to do something similar. I'm actually just going to pull down that one band EQ and leave it probably set where it is. It says about 400, 386. So we're going to send off of the snare sub. Actually, we're not going to do that. We're going to take the sample only and have that trigger the sample. Trigger the reverb, sorry. What did I say, sample? So this is going to trigger the reverb. And I think by doing that, will allow the direct mics to feel more forward. Sometimes I would take a sample that wasn't being used in the mix and have that trigger reverb, strangely enough. So let's grab a reverb. Again, we'll go stock, cheap and cheerful, comes free with Pro Tools, and I'll go to, I don't know, a little bit over a second. That bottom snare's annoying me a little bit. It's lost some of the body when I bring it in. I don't know if it's a phase correlation thing. So what I'm going to do is let's try something else. Why don't we dum-de-dum-dum-dum, because people are asking for it. Let's go and grab an SSL G channel on the snare bottom, because we're going to do a bunch of things. We're going to high pass. You see, this is why I think working in solo to show you how everything, that everything, it gives you a full sense of security. Peter just says, oh, the ring from the snare is really annoying. Okay, have a listen in the mix. What ring? This is why working in solo, you need to suspend disbelief. I'm showing you how to do stuff in solo, but it's really, really important, Peter, because if you then spent like an hour trying to pull out the ring, you can't hear the ring in there. I actually like a little bit of ring and a little bit of stuff. Like Anita's saying, I hear it too, but it might get gobbled up when the other instruments come in. Absolutely low. The thing is, I won't be able to teach you as effectively if I don't solo stuff. It's like understanding, you know, yes, like Adam says, the solo can lie. You've got to be careful because some of the most boring mixes is because everybody's sitting there and like doing so much detail work and then they put the whole thing to color. And the whole mix just sounds awful because everything's so like, yum, 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 yum. It's like built like a Lego brick thing. So, yeah. Yeah, it's a tough one for me. This is helping. So, as you can see, I'm reaching for things as a last resort. I mean, I put the SSL on the bottom snare because I wanted a little boom and fizz, little low end, little high end. I actually ended up using the expander just to kind of like... But then I'm doing little incremental things, but then, you know, I've got a little bit of low end boost here on the snare. I haven't gone for high yet, but I think I might. So 8K, let's have a little bit. Again, Andrew's got some default settings. 8K broadly on a snare, it's pretty tasty. I'm not sure what you mean, Chris. The gain staging that I did was like you saw right at the beginning. I just boom, 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 just did it really quickly. You know, if things aren't printed enough, loud enough, then I'll end up like, you know, bringing them back up. It's still pretty uneven, but this is an indie song. So this, keep it out as it is. Make sure that the snare reverb is going to that main bus. Okay, let's throw in the hats. Which aren't playing at the moment, of course, so let's see where they are. I've found recently that I like hats to be very mid-rangey and not sort of super jazz funky. One of the things I've been doing a lot of, and I've noticed a few of my friends do, is actually saturating them very lightly, which means using a good old-fashioned stock lo-fi. Comes free with Pro Tools. Now, I understand the question, Chris, about gain staging. It is important that everything hits evenly, but, it's within the realms of logic. You know, if You know, if somebody's giving you a signal which is printed almost invisible or something which is blown up like this, then those are huge issues. But anything in the middle of that is going to be great. Yeah, so as Adam's saying, I'm going for a little bit of a trashy one. Now you'll notice with lo-fi, you don't have to do much, and it works. So what I'm going to do is bring that saturation down ever so lightly. Cool. Let's do our second giveaway. So this is for David Gnozzi's course. We're going to try and finish up the drums in the next 20 minutes. So this is for his course. It's a fantastic course. He has his own channel on YouTube called MixbusTV. Highly recommended you check it out. First thing I'd like you to do is hit the like button before entering. So please hit that like button. See, we have 350 people watching. Always fantastic. Thank you. 240 likes. So can you please hit the like and then tell me, do you use saturation? If you use saturation, what are you using it on? What do you like it on? Oh, thank you, Tim. I'm glad you liked the Tom Holkenborg video. I think it was fantastic. What hi-hat mic? I think it was an SM7. Oh, so hit the like button, share the video. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It's always lovely to see you subscribe. And do you use saturation plugins? If so, what do you use it on? What do you use saturation on? I'd love to know what it is. Lemmica says mainly on the snare. Now you're making me want to do a little bit of that, so I am. I just added a little tiny bit on the saturation on the snare. See here? A little bit. That's really helping. Thank you, Lemmica. Yay! Community, baby. I'm going to move on to the overheads quickly. What do you hear is happening? I see a little bit of saturation on everything, a little bit on drums, drum bus, decapitator on everything. Saturation's great. Used lightly, it's a fantastic tool. Lately, I've been skipping lo-fi and sounds out and started to use isotope trash on the drum mix, Kramer tape on the master bus, decapitator on a cowbell. Actually, that would be great on a cowbell. I've done that many times. LA2A to saturate the vocals, soft tube, vocal and bass, everything. Devil Lock is fantastic. Did you notice anything about this? I'm going to bring the overheads up here. Listen. It's killing the snare. Listen to what it's doing to the snare, the overheads. All that low mid is gone from the snare. I don't care so much about the kick because for the overheads we can just grab a stock EQ, for instance. Again, we can go for something simple. We'll just go for Avid's own one here, and we'll remove the super lows. So that's great. We could probably try and go up a little bit, maybe about here. That's pretty darn good. But what I like to do is, you guessed it, is pull my snare drum back a little bit. So if I take here and then go to samples, we'll see it's 130 milliseconds back. So on my snare top, I'm just going to use, oh, thank you. explain the expander and why it's useful. I like expander on bass guitars sometimes. Sometimes what I would do is I would spend so much time compressing a bass guitar that all the energy left it and there was no transients. So the great thing about an expander, especially before transient designers came out, is you could add back some of that dun 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 dun. Instead of going woo, 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 you get the do 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 do. So they're really good on instruments that you're trying to preserve transients while also removing stuff that you don't need. They will take those front end things, bring them up at a certain volume, however you set your threshold, but then also reduce everything else out of it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab the delay, and I'm going to grab just a time adjuster, and on that snare top, I'm going to make it 130 samples later, which is nothing in the real world. You're not going to hear it from a point of view of you're going to hear it, but you're not going to. The snare's not going to sound out of time. Now on the snare bottom, it's only 100, so we're going to copy that down. Whoops, copy that down here. Don't need it on there. Copy it down here and adjust it to 100 samples. I'm going to take the EQ off of the overheads and have a listen. So what I've done is, this is with the time adjuster. Have a listen. Now turn the time adjuster off. It's a little bit subtler than I would have expected, but the low mids are coming back. The low end is coming back. Because I want to do individual elements and decide what I want to do. If I delayed the snare bus, you see individual elements are doing different things. We're going to delay this, reverse the polarity. You can't take three elements which have different time adjustments and then expect them to work at the same. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Okay, so all right. So now what I've done is I've reversed the polarity on the addictive snare. I have brought that back, and now have a listen to the without any EQ on the overheads. Have a listen. Turn all that off. All back on. Great. Really good. Subtle, does the job. Okay. We got 15 more minutes. We're going to do another giveaway in a few minutes. I'm going to throw the tambourine into it. I'm actually going to put the lo-fi on the tambourine, just so it's crunched in the same way as the hi-hat, because it is going to live opposite the hi-hat. I may well try that. We may try to do parallel mixing on the drums and other kinds of stuff. But yeah, you see the body that came back. Little bit of time adjuster, you know, checking the phase, the polarity, all that stuff. I mean, look at the lo-fi. I'm using it on 0.8 on saturation. I'm going to do something I don't normally do, which is I'm actually going to put a reverb plugin on source because it's the tambourine. Normally, I would not do this, but I am. So I'm going to bring it down to, I don't know, let's say just under a second on a medium. Yeah, it's 3/4 of a second. And I'm going to bring it up only about 20%, but I'm actually going to have the reverb on the hi-hat. Sorry, on the tambourine, just because I don't want to create new buses and all this stuff. All right, let's have a listen to these toms. I actually like that. The oohs were solo saved. Okay, so pretty happy. I am. The rack sounds great. Floor tom not so good. So let's do a little bit of work to the floor tom. Sounded like it needed some extra tuning in real life, but you know, beggars can't be choosers. We were probably moving fast. Maybe the drummer reached over and tried to do his own tuning. You know, that's just the way it works. You're at the mercy when you're engineering and moving quickly of stuff going wrong. Hence mixing. If everything was absolutely perfect from the get-go, life would be very easy and you just pull it up on faders. And there are many records I've made or mixed where you can pretty much pull it on faders. But, you know, and we could definitely get close. So what I'm doing is I'm going to about 350-ish, and I'm tugging that all out on the floor. Okay, one of my other favorite things to do, as I'm sure you're aware, is to use an R bass where necessary. The R bass is a wonderful plugin. I'd be lying if I didn't say it was something I have to have. MV2 and R bass, and just about everybody I know agrees on that. Okay. Sheps was saying the same thing. Andrew Sheps, David the other day. We love these two plugins. Okay. I'm not doing anything to the rack. I like that. Sounds really good. Okay, but what I am going to do is create a quick bus on this. So we're going to create a stereo bus for the toms, just so we can do a little global EQ. Comes in on 11 and 12. It's also being bused to 1 and 2, as you know, which is our master drum bus. Okay, and we're going to call this tom sub. You can call it tom sub, tom bus, tom auxiliary, whatever you like. Okie dokie. I'm going to do a global EQ. I'm very tempted to just do this. I'm doing it out of rote just because I know it's going to work. Putting a little bit of R bass on that rack. Just a schnizzle, a shade on there. Okay, now I'm going to grab a global EQ. Again, we'll go free with Pro Tools, so you can use any of your stock plugins. Grab that. Go, I don't know, about 40, 50, 60 on a high pass. Go down to about 80, 90, 100. Do a little boost. Widen the Q a little bit. Come to about 350. Again, the ugliness in the drums. Pull that out. Okay, let's go to the floor. See what that feels like. Good. I don't necessarily always do the vocals last. Sometimes I work on the vocals first. I just wanted to talk about, it's like, this is one of the things when you're describing stuff, we're working probably a little bit more in solo than we normally would, but it's the best way for you to hear. But as you can see, I'm building it together. I'm not soloing just the snare drum or soloing the kick. I'm adding things together. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll create a tom reverbs. Okay, so I just wiped off the low end and low mids just to get some ambience. Give it like a second. Okay. Make sure that it's actually coming in on that input. 13, 14. Yep. And make sure that that is going to the drum bus. Okay, that's what we have. I'm allowing there to be a little bit of a longer decay on the toms because they only play once or twice. If there was a really super fast like kind of tom part, I'd probably use a shorter reverb so it didn't get too sloshy. But because it's only one, you know. Edward, start from the beginning of the video and you're going to see that what I did is I did a really, really quick static mix of just listening to everything, panning it around. Great. So that's like the quick sort of indie drums. Now let's open up our sheps. Let's get a little on around there. So what's going on? Okay, so the tambourine, I think I'm going to take the lo-fi off. I like the idea of the lo-fi, but it's sounding a little too... Let's get it clean again. And just turn it down. So you see I did a little work. So I've got a saturation, I've got a 2 dB thump, which is like the low lows. I've got high passing. I'm actually going to bring it down a little bit. Doesn't have to be quite so aggressive, but the high passing at about 20. I've got a little bit of compression going on, but I did do quite a bit of 8K boost because I found the saturation was really nice. It's controlling the transients, but it's also at first taking the high end and cutting it. So have a listen with it in bypass, and you're going to hear the brightness of the snare. Have a listen. Now listen again. They're fairly close, but I did quite a lot of boost. So you're going to find once you bring up the saturation, at least on the odd setting, that it's eating up a little bit of those extra kind of 7, 8, 9, 10K kind of area. So I'm adjusting for that. I'm also doing a little cut at 350, 1.4. If I turn the EQ off, you'll hear what I mean. Now put the EQ in. Cool. I like that. So it's definitely about subtlety. I really like this plugin, but I'm definitely using it subtly. It's got really, really good things. And the EQ points are definitely where you want them to be. So let's throw in some other stuff. Obviously, we've done nothing else to it.
Even when I'm holding gray, and all my mind has slipped away from me, promise you'll be by my side and we'll go off in the dark unknown, where only fools and lovers go to hide. Promise you won't let me go alone.
Thanks, Asha. Wow, it's interesting, isn't it? Now that the drums have a bit of snap to them, a little bit of consistency in the kick and snare, like compression, you know, it's pretty fantastic what it's doing. And, you know, we haven't done parallel on the drums. We haven't done anything really that clever. We haven't done anything that clever. I haven't even left the EQ on the overheads. There's a lot of things that barely touched. The Sheps has come in really useful. The R bass, just for a little bit of lows on the toms. But to be honest, we haven't even heard a tom yet. You know, so... Again, this is probably the 8th live streaming drum mix that we've done, and we've mixed it completely differently again. It's just to prove that there's no one way. I really like to be able to help because, you know, there's a million videos that somebody mixing the kick drum. I mean, the thing is there is no one way to mix a kick drum. The way I just mixed it there was completely differently to the way I did it before. And it's important for that kind of stuff, you know, that you learn a million different ways of doing this. All right, so our last giveaway, and I must quickly say to Eric, is the gate open? Because we have an artist coming. Our gate because it gets wet, it locks up really easily, and I'm going to get a text from my wife in a minute going, your artist is trying to get in. So we have 1 minute. Here's our last giveaway. So what's great about this giveaway is you're gonna win David Gnozzi's course. So 302 people have hit the like button. If we can make that more, it'd be marvelous. So you can win. So please hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. That would be amazing. So do that. Hit the like button. And what do I want to know? What is your favorite plugin? What is it? What is your favorite plugin in the whole entire world? What is it? I would love to know what it is. Please tell us what it is. And you can win. So hit the like, tell us what it is. Yes, artist is arriving any second. Because this is what we actually do this for a living. Yeah, union break. So let us know what your favorite plugin is. Please like, please share, subscribe, all of the great stuff. And you are going to win a free year's membership to the Academy, and you're also going to win David Gnozzi's from MixbusTV's course. So please, what do you use? Fab Filter, Vocal Rider, My Ears, nicely done, R Bass, R Vox, and here's our artist at exactly on 12. It's okay, we're live streaming, but you can come in. We're almost done. Ozone, Fab Filter, NEQ, Melodyne, SSL, Easy Drummer, Lindell, Decapitator, Volf Compressor, Addictive, Fab Filter, Waves, RComp, BX, Brainworks, SSL, and so many. Reaper, RBass, SSL, Brainworks, REQ. Please hit that like button and subscribe. That would be amazing. Slate, Volv, EMT 140. That one's a nice one. What else we got? CLA, guitar, bass, RVox, tone boosters, waves, UVI. That's nice. Clint, Black Box, API 2500, 1176, Serum, MJUC, Nebula, Tube Compressor, Melder EQ, Rob Payton Predator, don't know what that is, sorry. The Lurson, Echo Boy, MJUC Junior. Reaper isn't a plugin, yes, we know. But if they like Reaper, maybe they meant stock plugins on Reaper, stock Reaper. RBass, and Panacea Studios one with their Slick EQ. I have the CLA Mix Hub, and we are going to try it. I'm hoping that Eric downloaded it. Did you download the mix?
Not yet.
He said no, not yet. So we couldn't have used it, but we will have it. We have it. We're going to get it. All right, you all rock. Thank you ever so much. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Have a marvelous time recording and mixing. Congratulations to everybody that won either the course or, of course, membership to Produce Like a Pro Academy. Have a marvelous time recording and mixing. We'll see you all again very soon. And happy Thursday. And tomorrow morning for Academy members, we will be streaming the Feedback Friday. So I look forward to seeing you then. The focals are coming back up. We did a thing. The focals will be coming back up. We just did a thing with Cali, so we changed the speakers out, but they're coming back. Have a marvelous time recording and mixing. See you all again very, very soon.